Along here, I would ask for a motion to approve the minutes from our September 5th
So moved.
meeting. Any second, perhaps?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? It seemed pretty straightforward to me.
Seemed pretty straightforward to me as well.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Moving right ahead, we're going to have Stephen Kiley, who's agreed to join us for a little bit just to review the pending legislation that involves our deliberation going forward. With any future projects and how we vet them. So I will.
Yeah, good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So Town Law 64-E entitled Peconic Bay Region Community Preservation Fund law has been amended, but has not been signed into law yet. So it passed both houses, and now it's sitting on the governor's desk to be signed. So the current iteration of CPF controls right now. As pertains to you, you know how right now we have a very verbose water quality improvement project definition involves like wastewater treatment, improvement projects, non-point course abatement, aquatic habitat restoration projects, pollution prevention projects, and the list goes on. And then those terms are further defined. So it's a very specific and restrictive definition and verbose. So that is going to be removed and repealed completely. And the new definition of water quality improvement project will be general and broad in nature. So it's going to basically just say projects designed to improve the quality of drinking and surface waters and projects, including operational expenses related to the operation of the Peconic Bay National Estuary Program as designated by the United States Environmental Protection Agency. So this definition I'm not totally in love with because like if it would have just stopped at including operational expenses, it would have been great because then you could pretty much do whatever you want with the money so long as there's a nexus to improving the quality of drinking water and surface water. But now it has this related to the operation of the Peconic Bay National Estuary Program as designated by the United States Environmental Protection Agency. So like it can be read in one vein that yes, it's anything that improves the quality of drinking water and surface waters that you can expend up to 20% of the CPF on. But I'm not sure how this related to the operation of the Peconic Bay National Estuary Program plays in. The good news is also included in this amendment is the creation of a Peconic Bay Region Advisory Committee that will be able to interpret things like that. And simultaneous with the amendment of the definition, we'll have this committee formed, and this type of question can be asked and answered and provide guidance. Because this particular law has not been challenged, and there's no real case law interpreting it. There's no attorney general opinions interpreting it. So we have to rely on, this opinions bureau to make heads or tails of it. So that's where we are now. Again, this is not in full force and effect. The prior CPF law is, and you're bound by the water quality improvement project definition as currently written, but this is on the horizon.
Theoretically imminent.
Well, it's been on her desk for.
It's on her theoretically, absolutely, but there's been other laws that have languished on the desks of governors. So I'm not sure where we are on that, but if I was a betting man, yes, I would say it was.
So what you were saying about, I'll call it the Committee of 11, is that the new, that's the organization that's going to exist that we would go to and say, does this seem to fly with the with the expectations of what would either be allowed or prohibited by the WQI?
If
What do you
we had
mean,
questions.
committee of 11?
They added 14A and B, which creates this new organization, the Committee of 11. And then there's also going to be, it sounded like a designated lawyer that would kind of corral the Committee of 11. And they've got 90 days, according to the law, right? It's 90 days. Once she signs it, in 90 days, the Committee of 11 should be in place according to the legislation. And at that point, what used to be the 7 categories is now the 11, the Committee of 11. Is that, do I have
If
that
we have
right?
questions, though, as I understand it.
Right.
We would go to them if we have questions. We wouldn't present everything to
Correct.
know.
Oh, okay. So.
Yes, yeah. So you still have full unfettered control over WQI expenditures. We don't have to go to them for anything. But if we are confused as to something, we can go and ask them for their opinion.
I mean, it doesn't preclude us from vetting stuff the way we have. I mean, we could still internally use those criteria.
Okay.
I
hear what
mean,
you're saying.
I think there's just more flexibility if we want to go outside that box a little bit.
Well,
That's the way I see it.
Well, no. Like to me,
They have- in order to replace Fred Tile, they needed a Committee of 11. Now, this is just in order, that's
Bureaucracy at
what's
its best.
amazing.
yeah, I wouldn't agree with that statement, but yes. So we've been asking for an opinions bureau for a while, and it used to exist. So this is a manifestation of that, and so again, it's definitely something worthwhile and needed, but it has no real jurisdiction over your day-to-day operations. It's just there as a resource if needed. But again, you don't have to, you can use the previous definition if you want, but you can throw it out if you want and just use, again, whether or not it improves the quality of drinking and surface waters. And if in your opinion, a certain project does that, you can authorize the expenditures of money. Now, again, with the one caveat to see how this related to the operation of the Peconic Bay Estuary Program, that's the one wrinkle that has to be worked out.
Do you have a unofficial idea of what that might mean?
No.
What's included in that program that would drive anything different than what we're doing?
I have no idea. That's why, again, it's good that we have this opinions bureau. But I will start soliciting some opinions on this particular situation. Again, there's nothing for me to research and go into any, like I said, case services definition, or so it was just, again, it has to play itself out.
If I could chime in for a minute, because I'm trying to think of things that have come to mind. One is when West Neck Water wanted to come to WQI to ask about something to put on their system having to do with nitrates. Because it wasn't an emerging contaminant, it didn't qualify under the current listing of things. So I think it could now,
Right.
under this new legislation.
Absolutely.
So that's just one example that comes to
And
mind.
we wouldn't have had to go through all the calisthenics we did with the church, for instance.
Right.
And
Yes.
and arguably the sewage treatment facility in the center would fall under this as well.
Could you say that again?
Again, as I started out, this definition is very general and broad. So arguably, the proposed sewage treatment facility for the center could fall within that definition, and monies could be expended for that purpose.
Okay, I suppose that's not a new piece of information, I suppose, really.
I mean, as long as,
Well, again,
I guess as long as we
it's a new definition, and my point being is that it's so general and broad, it can fall within that. So you have a lot of leeway. So long as you can tie it to the nexus that whatever monies you're expending improves the quality of drinking and surface waters.
Is within this,
I'm
is
sorry?
within this, in this legislation, is there some provision for keeping what money's earmarked for water quality in the water quality arena?
The
Or
only thing that
Is
it
that
adds is
another piece of legislation that is pending?
you can carry it over. So remember how there was some discussion, well, up to, so again, you have a bucket of money that gets
Right.
taken in through the CPF. Up to 20% can be utilized by a municipality for water quality improvement projects, up to 20%. So the town board has to say that that's what we want to do, and this town board in Shelter Island said that's what we want to do and created your board, Water Quality Improvement Board. So that 20% of that bucket can be used for these projects. Now, there was some question previously whether that 20%, if it's not used that calendar year, stays with the regular CPF fund, or does it come over for the following? Now it is clarified that the money comes over to the following year. So it
Okay, that
accumulates.
was my question.
Yes.
It would be a resolution every year.
Right, but now you don't have to.
Exactly.
Thank you. Any other questions for Stephen?
Well, I guess what does it, we have to figure out how we would, if we reach a point of loggerheads, which is unlikely in terms of,
I mean, internally or?
yeah, among the five of us, I mean, how many of us have to say we think that we should get the committee of 11 to rule on this thing or to give us advice on this
The
thing?
majority of us.
Is it
Majority.
majority?
Yes, it would be 3.
Okay.
That's right.
And if as an individual on this committee, I said, I really would like to get that looked at, and you guys say, now let's just roll through. I mean, I can send a request up, presumably, get an individual of a committee, request input from the committee of 11? And is there a better name for the committee of 11? It sounds like, comrade, we'd go speak to committee of 11.
Well, it is,
It's
kind
my
of.
understanding, they render opinions and interpretations to bona fide town entities, not a person who's not wearing their WQIAB hat and just a resident. So it would be from, I believe the town board can go, but also absolutely WQIAB. But if you're voted out, you're voted out, or voted down, rather, I'm sorry.
Okay.
But again, there's a lot of fluidity, right? This is new law. It has to be worked out. And I'm sure that the committee of 11 is going to come up with their policies and procedures and see, based upon how the law is written and how they interpret it, what requests for opinions they will listen to.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah. Anything else for Stephen? Well, thank you very much for helping to clarify in our minds.
The vagaries.
Maybe. We appreciate it. Thank you for taking the time.
You're welcome, Mr. Chairman.
Take care.
Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Okay. So we have a couple of requests for payment. Shannon is one. They're on Tar Kettle. One thing with them, as I look at it, they're getting 12,000 was the grant, but that was, I guess we didn't include anything for the well, but they did their well too.
No, they did not put a new well in, they just had to they had to provide a new water test because they had to go through a variance for the septic. And when they did the new water test, it showed high iron or something that forced them to do a remediation in order to get approval. So it's really the water test and the water filtration, but they didn't have to put in a whole new well.
Okay, all right.
So then they don't get reimbursed.
For the water test,
No, for the
Or
well.
the, or the mitigation, whatever they had to do, right?
it
No,
was a requirement of the county in order to get their green stamp. Just like if someone were to put a new well
Right.
and have high iron, it's a qualification of the permit.
So,
So it's up to you guys.
they are listed? No, it seems,
It's an expense, but their other expenses exceed the amount of the grant anyway, so we're not really considering that as an expense.
has no impact on
It has
the,
no impact on what we would give them or approve for them.
yeah, it seems to me that if the situation is such that, that they did a water test to put the IA in, and that showed a problem, that problem was pre-existing before.
Right. I mean, they should have had treatment before that.
That they, so
And
that,
that's something that happens not infrequently, and it can be a real problem because, you know, you won't get your CO until you might have to put a covenant on your deed with saying that you need this particular treatment.
yeah,
So until you get the covenant on, which is sort of a pain in the neck to do, you don't get the green stamp.
whatever you had, whatever you.
But it was pre-existing. Yes, it wasn't as a result of them putting in the IA system.
So it was, they requested that money, but.
They put it down as an
We're
expense,
saying,
but.
yeah, that expense is not applicable. So whatever the document.
We know about it, but.
File should
Right.
say, this section was not applicable, but it didn't have any impact on the rebate.
Right.
That's, I think, important for future reference, huh?
So I would,
Otherwise, we'll be wondering what the hell we did 2 months ago.
I would ask, based on, that little addendum that you want to add on to the approval, right?
I'm sorry.
You want to mention that some of the expenses listed were not applicable for a
We're
rebate.
not, they don't fall into the.
But because it really had no effect on the bottom line, we're not going
That would be correct.
to it doesn't affect us really, except we should call it out and just say in the future, if somebody puts that on there and says, oh, well, that was on somebody else's application, we'll have something to go back on and say, well, no, we didn't really consider that anyway.
Yeah.
Is that clear as mud? You want to make a motion?
Yeah, I think that let's do this, and then I'll ask a comment.
Okay, I mean, if it has nothing to do with this,
Well, you look through this, fine, you've seen it, it's, it's all legitimate, there isn't any other things in there that are,
no, the only thing I was unsure about what they meant about the well thing.
okay, well, that's fine then.
To me, we give the base grant, we give money for a new well put in, and for a PSD. I mean, I don't think this falls under any of those
Right.
things anyways. So it's just an expense they accounted, they can put it down there, but whether we support it or not, it doesn't fall under the criteria that we support.
It's on the document that they've submitted, and if we don't put a note on that document so that the file 2 years from now, people say, what the hell's going, oh, okay, we see there's a note here, and the application was put through, and, I just,
Yeah,
documentation, that's what I just want to make sure the documentation is clean,
I got it.
or at least referenced as to what was intended.
Right, so your motion is to approve the $12,000?
I second.
Any further discussion on that? All in favor?
Aye. The question, and I have to admit, a lot of times I haven't gotten around to look at, when we are doing the request for payments, do they all get sent around electronically? Because I missed
No,
this, it must have been, I have been receiving kind of a lot of emails lately, so.
No, I had.
It has
you know,
been around and I just didn't pick up on it. I just didn't find it. Okay.
Jessica was so thorough that she printed them out, but I had already printed them out, so I mean,
Okay.
Just,
we all get them.
just as a note, Shannon was not my, it has my initials, BB. That was not my app. I believe that was Tui's, no? Shannon? I have Wallbomber, or I had Wallbomber, so
Wallbauer.
Wallbauer, that's
So
it.
they're just switched.
Yeah, they switched. Well, I think you had Shannon, didn't you? Did we?
I don't remember, honestly. I think so, but.
Wallbauer, yeah.
Wallbomber, okay. They have conditional rebate as 16,000. I think I had put aside for the well, just in case they did need to do that, but I don't, I mean, Meg just left, but according to my notes, I don't think they had to move their well. Did Wallbauer have a new well? They didn't have a new well.
They do have to move their well, but they haven't done it yet.
So they will request that money later on, or we don't give money preemptive to it?
They will come back and request it later on.
Okay.
Part of the issue is that they're trying to save enough money to do the new well. So if we reimburse them for the money they paid out for the septic, then they have the money to do the well.
I see.
So that's kind of the catch-22 that they got stuck in.
So it's good that we have the 16,000 down, right? So that when they come back, we can say, oh, yes, you know, we had that in. But as of this point, I think 12,000 is,
That's all that the town board approved, was 12,000.
oh, it says, okay. Well,
Well,
what
I
do we
mean, it
do
was-
when they
it-
come back with the well?
We had set aside the extra four, you
Right.
know, so.
Resolution reflected that. Because I just have in the spreadsheets, 12,000.
We've been doing that.
Is this an old one with the prior
No,
reimbursement amount?
no.
No, this is.
Number 6,
this was-
2023, so it's
This
a
was a
year.
recent application that, well, recent, I mean, you know,
Here we go.
new, yeah, and,
So then it just would be 12 plus 4 when they request it.
right, that's
Right, when
my,
they actually do
Do the-
Do the
they didn't
well.
actually do it, but,
So we're approving 12
Right.
with a pending 4 when they complete the project.
is that legal with the board, or how does? Because it has
They
here,
need their green stamp, so they get the green stamp without the well.
No, they will get the green stamp after the well relocation. So-
We historically haven't paid.
Yeah, historically, we haven't done that when they don't have the green stamp yet. So what they've submitted is the health department inspection of the sanitary system, saying that was completed per code. But it's still pending
but
the
that
well.
doesn't count. That,
It
they need
doesn't count
they
as a
need
green
some
stamp.
letter or something, right? I mean,
The letter is in there. It should be
Oh.
in the package from
and
the
that's
health
just from the
department.
inspection of
It's
the installation?
It's from the health department they do an official inspection letter now when they're done inspecting the sanitary system and it's complete and there's been a startup and they're just waiting for the final paperwork on like the well or things like that. And so the applicant submitted that letter along with the request for payment just for the sanitary, knowing that the well is not complete.
but can we give it to them without the green stamp?
So that's the question that
We,
the applicant's posing because other municipalities like East Hampton and Southampton do that. They have created a process for that, so it would be up to the board as to whether or not you wanna.
that was spoken about at that, you know, that meeting that we had
Yeah.
in West
At
Hampton.
the, yeah,
Hampton,
at
Southampton, wherever it
the
was.
Stony Brook Marine
Yeah,
Center.
you know, I think it certainly streamlines things for a lot of people. I know that, you know, in my case, it would have been great. You know, and it seems to be something that has been adopted by other municipalities, you know, for the similar reasons, I guess, because
It's not really our decision, it would be the town board, because
it would, we
They've got to-
would have to recommend. So, you know, this application, for instance, we would have to not act on at the moment.
Right.
What does the letter say?
It's not- I don't think
I don't know if it's here.
Got from the county?
No, it's not here. At least I didn't.
Oh, it was submitted to PAC.
So it's file is upstairs.
Might be in the file.
What?
Probably
Oh, in that file?
I mean, that's, as far as you know, what the letter basically says is that you have done everything that you need to do except put in the revised well.
No, all it says is that they inspected their sanitary system and it is approved.
It meets all the current requirements for the sanitary system. It
So-
doesn't mention the well at all.
So,
It's
okay,
It's the sanitary inspection, so they're saying that you completed the sanitary portion of the permit.
okay, and, but they're required to do the
They
new
are
well.
required to do the well, yes.
In order to get the.
Is that the same
clean stamp.
organization in the
Yes.
county?
Yeah, it's the same group of inspectors.
Because it seems like the content of that letter is how, as James says, those are they have in effect said, we'll get a letter like that says the sanitary system that we said you could, you should put in, they've done that part, but we're not giving them the red stamp until
Green stamp.
the green stamp.
Well, here it is. I mean, thank you for your participation.
Colorblind.
Thank you for your participation in Suffolk County Septic Improvement Program. Initial inspections of the IA system installation at the above referenced address indicate that the system appears to be installed in conformance with the residential construction standards and/or the approved permit and has been approved for backfilling. This is something that they've always done. They just haven't given you this letter. Please note that the Office of Wastewater Management conducts a separate review of the documents required for final approval, as built, plan, contractor certification, etc., and may result in the need of additional inspections and/or site modifications.
That last paragraph's a killer.
So that says that they're, in this case, they needed to move their well. But we need to, if we feel that it's appropriate, recommend to the town board that they consider such a letter as, an okay to.
For Shelter Island, because it's achieved Shelter Island's goal, which is to get the IA system in the ground. It hasn't achieved the county's goal of having a perfect system.
Well, I mean, and, it does tie into us because we have authorized an additional payment for that
Later.
part.
Later,
So does this get somehow bureaucratically messed
No.
up with?
because we've had others where we've gone back because we didn't
It's
realize.
a matter of procedure.
But we've been talking for months about trying to make the process more humane and simple and less onerous to the person who's, I don't know, it's unusual for a government agency, but,
So my question is, I don't have any problem with that.
right.
My question is, procedurally, is there an issue with us approving part of this and then having them come back at a later date?
I mean,
Currently, it would be against our policy, and we haven't historically wanted to give money to somebody without the process being completely done, because what if they don't do what they're supposed to do? And we've given them money for an incomplete installation.
Well, it's a complete installation, and that's why I'm saying it achieves Shelter Island's goal. If they want to drink water from a well that's too close to their septic system, that's a personal family issue. Shelter Island has cleaner groundwater because we have less nitrogen.
But if right now, our policy says they need the green stamp, so if they can't get the green stamp, then.
Well, so the point of this is, do we recommend that the town board consider such letters from the health department, after their sanitary part of it is inspected and approved as enough,
Evidence.
evidence that they should be paid for at least that portion of it, if that's.
did the state and the county money, did they receive that at this point?
Yes, that's already been
They
paid out.
did.
They have been given.
Other towns do allow their payments out without the green stamp.
Right.
So we just wanna make sure we have something that we can.
Is that a Stephen question perhaps? I mean, or,
Well, if other towns are doing it, it's probably been vetted. So
It's a chamber policy.
we just have to change our policy, so if you draft a letter up to the town board saying you'd like to change it, and then also whatever forms, like the request for payment form, needs to be then amended, because right now, on page 1 of the payment form, Suffolk County Department of Health green stamp approval cover page must be in color.
I think that it's significant that they've received the state and the county money. Those checks have already gone out as well.
Right.
But, so you can say, well, yeah, it's, you know, they're at the edge of the
I
success.
mean, it wouldn't be hard to modify that, you know, or appropriate approval letter from.
You're just changing the wording from the green stamp
Right,
to
you
the
know, it could
approval
be
letter.
and or the green stamp or this other
Right,
thing.
to cover these kinds of instances,
If-
which the new legislation would allow us to do. And not that the current legislation doesn't allow us to do it, but
If they hadn't received the state and county money, I think that would be one thought that I would have would be is, no, I don't think that we should send it forward to the town board, because I think that there's an event there that
I
has
mean, they might have not
Checks
received
went
the
out.
county money because maybe they preemptively put the thing in and they can't get reimbursed from the county.
No, they did. They received the county and the.
I'm just saying,
Oh.
if there's a situation where they had put this thing in and they can't get retroactively reimbursed,
Right.
Well,
so then they wouldn't have that check.
but if they could get the green stamp, they don't need that
If
letter.
that's, then we wouldn't be talking about this, but we're talking about some interim approval.
Yeah,
for somebody who, because we did talk at some point in time about the idea of giving a loan out of some of our funds to help people begin the process. And so this is not really any different.
Well, no, I mean, I don't think I mean, we're paying for what has been accomplished.
Yes.
Acknowledged by the health department.
And that meets the Shelter Island goal of having the system in place.
Right.
The other is a much more technical thing about the well being in. We won't pay them for the well till they put it in.
Correct. I mean, and they won't get their final approval from the health department until it goes in. So, I mean, this is, this, again, we talked about it already, about wells and, how it can be dragged on because of the covenants and all that stuff.
And sometimes they don't even know that they necessarily, right? When you start the process, they don't know.
No, a lot of people don't even think about it.
Right.
You remember at the PEP meeting, when I said that we pay for well relocations if it's mandated by the county and the DHS, and I guess it was Tommy John said, "You guys are doing wells?" He seemed quite surprised at that.
Right, well, most of those people don't have wells.
Yeah,
They don't, like,
City
those other municipalities.
yeah. Well, there's a significant number of.
I'm sure there are, but I mean, in any case, do we want to undertake
Yes.
drafting a letter to the town board recommending that perhaps when someone has received the approval letter that their septic system meets county criteria, that portion of their grant may be paid, whereas if there's something still outstanding and there's a well relocation required or the pressurized shallow drain field, whatever, that would have been in that same letter, but.
Right.
But okay, just the well, let's say,
And then add also that we have to amend,
well,
Our-
the application.
yeah.
I mean, that would just be the county green stamp and/or
And/or, right.
appropriate Suffolk County
Exactly.
letter of documentation that the septic system has been properly installed.
Right.
I mean, they've always done that, they just didn't write a letter. Is all. But it would help people cash flow wise for sure. And make it a nicer experience, right, Dewey?
Kinder, gentler.
All right, so do you want to fool around with the application part of it and I'll write the letter? Well, we have to change the,
Our internal procedure.
yeah.
Yeah.
So we would have to have a
forms-
draft of that change and submit it to the town board.
Okay.
Not their application,
Our application,
our internal
all the stuff that we did
documentation that you
together.
did. Your flow charts and.
Yeah, Greg, all the stuff that we did together,
Talking about the green stamp is the
Right.
only
right.
criteria is
So that has
now
to be
amended, that has to
changed.
be amended.
And then does this form, you were saying this form has to be changed as well?
So far, the only place I've seen it is on the payment request form.
Right.
But I'm like flying through the rest of the documents to see if I can find a reference to the green stamp. So it may just be one. But check me out.
Do we want to go ahead and do
Yes.
that? So,
I make a motion that we request the town consider this
okay,
variance to the current system demanding a green stamp to amend it to the approval letter from the Department of Health Services for the proper installation of the IA system.
sort of their confirmation of inspection report letter.
And
Consistent with what the other towns around us are doing already.
Okay,
So do we have to?
send me a copy of that letter.
Or are we waiting
No.
until that letter gets?
We can't.
we can't, until something gets changed, we can't do it.
Okay.
What are you saying?
We can't,
We can't approve the $12,000 right now.
For the request,
Okay.
until the letter, the board approves the letter and it.
The board needs to authorize,
Right.
yes, okay, we'll take
Okay.
that. That's a change.
it's not an unusual occurrence, right? We're dealing with exceptions, we get exceptions.
I mean,
Agreement, the conditional rebate agreement also reference. So there's two documents that I found so far. So it's the payment request form and the conditional rebate agreement. Both say green stamp on it.
You just got to figure out where we have it that defined, and then we could put a little after that, a little asterisk, and/or a letter
right,
that, from that agency, specifying.
Did you get both of those, Greg?
Okay,
You got both of those?
I do.
Okay.
Payment record, payment request, and conditional agreement,
And the flow chart.
and the flow chart. Okay, have the Three Stooges down?
all right. Moving along,
Is there any worry that they may not go forward and finish this well? Is there?
well, as Tui said, what we really wanted out of the project is there.
Okay, maybe.
I mean, and approved by the health department. I mean, I don't think, what's the health department gonna do? They've already, they can't already pay them. So, I mean, I don't know. I mean, I would imagine that if you needed your CO, if you're gonna get financing or gonna sell the house or whatever, you'd need to finish it,
You're gonna try to get a building permit.
right, or anything like that. You're gonna need,
Even a
you're
rental.
gonna need to get that squared away.
How would the town building department track that this well is needed?
I don't think that, no.
Well, because they applied for the grant, I had to submit a septic registry
Oh,
for the installed septic system,
Okay.
and on it, it says well pending.
yeah.
So they should have in their record that there is a well
Okay.
that needs to get.
Which will come up on a future transfer?
Yep.
Because no one's
It
gonna
should
be
come up
monitoring that.
In their system,
Munis.
it should come up in Municity as a flag.
I mean,
It's like when you go to sell your house and there's outstanding building permits and you gotta go in and close out the building permit.
yeah, no, that's fine.
I'm not selling my house, but I had an outstanding permit because I didn't realize the roofing guy filed a permit after Sandy to fix the garage roof, but he did. And I went to the building department with something else. And they were like, you know, you got a permit, oh, okay. So, it was no big deal.
All they wanted to do is see your garage roof.
Well, they probably did it already, but I don't know, whatever they needed from me, $100 or something, I don't know.
I mean, it would be, it's like, what do you think? You made an illicit change to your house, you know, and, oh, you're living, everything's great until you need the town to do something. That's when people get tripped up with it.
I think we should be helpful as opposed to creating hurdles.
Right, I mean, that's why we're discussing this at all, because just to make it easier, you know? I mean,
In this situation, they were only approved for $12,000 grant.
I believe I requested for
It
16,000.
was only approved though October 31st in 2023, it was only approved for 12,000. So I'm not sure why that didn't go through, the well relocation.
I think
Or
there
was
is
it
some,
after?
I thought it was amended,
I think
because
there's something in the folder that there was an amended resolution. I just had to share it with you on SharePoint. I don't know. So you have to find.
I will take a look.
Oh, it's in SharePoint? How often does this come up?
Wells afterwards?
It seems like,
This is another one of those
Exceptions.
exceptions, yeah, where, you know, they don't have, we require the green stamp. They're saying they're not giving them the green stamp because they now need a well. When we saw the application, I remember distinctly saying, I want to put aside 4,000 for a well because they weren't sure whether they were going to get one. So it doesn't come up very often, but it's one of those
But
exceptions.
this instance where they can't afford to put the well in, we wouldn't know at any point in time until somebody tells us that, you know, we need the money to do it. Because putting in wells ain't cheap.
and we have made amendments at this stage of people saying, you know, I'd like X amount of money. And I think we have said that
Are we finished?
Yeah.
we have authorized it based on,
We found the amendment.
Okay.
So now, my one concern question is, in this instance, they're looking for a partial payment. From a logistics internal point of view, I feel like if we start like paying people in dribs and drabs.
That's where I was
we're going
going.
to create a nightmare for Jess to keep track of all these.
But I think it's an exception, right? That we're amending things to deal with an exception. We haven't had this happen before.
We did have, I think, a couple of people came back and either showed us more expenses like Becky Smith.
Yeah.
And then I think we did go back and increase Derby because they fell under the reduced one.
Right,
Sort of other ones that they got 2 checks. But again, like I don't want this to become a habit because
Yep,
then
yep.
Jess is tracking it. When I'm signing the checks, I'm like going back and I'm like, wait, are we paying the right amount? Well, how much has been paid so far? Like, so it creates more time and energy for everybody. So that's my only caution, is creating a system where we're not going to allow that. I mean.
Well, I
this
mean,
is a-
you
this is a
could-
one-off. But
I don't know, I mean, it's sort of a hybrid thing, but you could say it would still be a good thing to be able to approve, take that letter as evidence of completion, as long as everything else is complete, you know, and things could still be like getting a covenant on their new well treatment and everything could take for a long time, but it's done. You know, as opposed to where this well isn't done at all. You know, so that it's still not finished and not eligible for a green stamp. You know, and nothing to do with bureaucracy, it's just not physically done.
Right.
You know, whereas some things are physically done, but the bureaucracy is holding everything up.
if the logistics of doing this, could we conceivably establish a new application saying, I'd like to get the and it would just be for 4,000? And then in the machinations of the system, you'd say, this one is closed, it's done, it's 12,000 out the door, there's the check. Oh, there's another one here for 4,000, but it's a different application. It's not 082024. Oh, no, excuse me, that's mine.
Or whatever it
It's
is.
not,
Yeah, I'm not sure if that helps.
it doesn't, okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
sounds worse.
Still.
Sounds more paperwork.
It does actually sound like more paperwork, so.
Well, does this committee have the authority to issue short-term loans, no interest loans?
As far as I've gotten into the loan thing is I got the documentation from Massachusetts on their loan program. And
That's almost more
Not
complicated,
any-
right? Now you have to set up a whole system to do that, to give a loan, to document it, to put a lien on the property, the lawyer's gotta do that, da.
We need to set a public hearing, we have to have a public
It's
hearing.
easier to just encumber the money and realize it's pending with an asterisk and a reason.
Like I said, we're not trying to create more hurdles, we're trying to make this easier.
Make it easier, but do it.
I mean,
Talk
I
about-
think it might be infrequent enough that you could say,
Yeah, I mean,
that, we've accepted, the county certification that your system was put in, and we agree to pay you the $12,000. Upon such time as you bring us the green stamp, we would then release the other $4,000 that has been earmarked for this project. And hopefully it'll be infrequent enough that you'll be able to keep track of it.
So when this comes back for approval, our resolution would include wording like that. So that gives a paper trail for Jessica and Amber to follow. Right? The resolution will be very specific to say that we're doing this under the new auspices of the committee, and the other is just pending. It's encumbered, just like you have it encumbered now. You've just released some of the funds and,
I think she said it hadn't been encumbered.
well, no, it's encumbered.
No, we've subsequently discovered that there was an amended resolution.
Yes,
Okay,
yes, yeah, I found that.
I must have passed out.
It also begs the question, if you're gonna agree to lease some now or lease some later in this exceptional situation, does it make sense at all to release less now and more later? Like, instead of leasing 12 and 4, release.
It might exacerbate their problem of trying to get the well done at all, because from what I understand, they're still looking for
Yeah.
funds.
Like I said, I think we should make this easier.
No, we're trying,
Yeah,
that's
let's
fine.
proceed if it becomes an issue.
All right, so we'll write the letter, you guys can kick it around, but I think hopefully it's infrequent enough that it's manageable. But that's where I was going with my question about procedurally, how is this gonna be a problem?
Since 3/4 of the board is here.
She's not here in her town,
I know that, but
and she can't weigh in on it anyways.
Yeah, she has to excuse
She has
herself.
recused
Okay.
herself on anything, so.
So actually, we are a majority.
No, because Albert had to sign off on
Oh,
it,
yes, we, that's all three of us.
yes, exactly.
anyway.
Anyway, we'll write the letter, you'll look at the forms and see what needs to be adjusted, and we'll meet again about this
When do you think you'd get us the letter?
next week.
I'm just thinking to put it on the work session.
When do you need it?
Well, I can put it on for October 8th, and then our next work session, because of Columbus Day weekend, isn't until October 22nd. So I want to put it on one of those two agendas.
Okay,
So
So-
play it safe and go with October 22nd.
yes, I mean, I'm going away tomorrow, so,
Yeah, actually, that should work, because if we talk about October 22nd, we have a town board meeting. If we decide to adopt it, you do it on October 28th, and it would be done for your next WQIE.
I mean, unless somebody else can write it too, I don't care.
Ready?
No, I just realized the
I'm not
timing
good at
works.
that.
Okay,
The
fine.
timing works.
All right. Moving along.
That's not my strong point.
Onto the rebate applications, Cook and Sazado.
Yes, so I recommend that we approve it. I have included the base grant of 12,000 and a well replacement. I don't believe they need a well replacement, but our current policy is to approve it in case they need it as this thing moves along. Do we think they're gonna need it? No. It's a block system. It's already got a red stamp. So I believe it covers.
As far as the design for the
Yeah.
confirmation of an engineer involvement.
The only piece of paper I didn't see was the installer's maintenance certificate. I don't think I saw that. I don't know, in the past, haven't I seen something where they sign an agreement to have it maintained over a couple?
That happens at the very end.
Oh, okay, all right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, anyway, I make a recommendation that we approve this.
A second on that?
I'll second it.
But
Now we'll have
to
discuss.
discuss. Now we would like to discuss.
Yeah, so this was the situation where there was no open permits or anything like that on this last night, okay. And what was the number on the kg, the kilogram?
9.4?
20.4?
9.4.
9.4, okay. Okay,
Is this for 12 or 16?
Um,
12,000 or 16,000?
Well,
There's a set aside that you don't think you should
we
use.
don't think we're gonna use it, but we set aside in case, because we've had a couple instances where they come back and they have to move a well unexpectedly, and so now we've been trying to cover that in advance. I mean, we couldn't leave it out, but in this case, probably we could leave it out, but just trying to follow procedure.
Right, I think it's a good idea to leave it in.
Yep.
yeah, I'm gonna need well, I'm gonna need them in my Mesnikov, but
All right, any further discussion?
All right, and so it's gonna be 12,000 grant, base grant, and 4,000 well relocation
Yes.
set aside. I move, I'm seconded, I second.
You're third, so you're voting, are you
Yeah.
voting now? You're thirding it? So you're in favor?
Yes, I'm in favor.
Aye. Greg, you're good?
Okay, to be replaced, yes, I am good.
You're good, okay. Great. Craig, that's me. 11 West Neck Road. It's a little head scratching here, but it says the house has 2 bedrooms and there are 8 people living there. Which, they're the kids of the owner. And their kids, the owner's grandkids.
They're all living there permanently?
What it says, 365 days a year. That's why the score is so high. Yeah, I get it, but unless the bedroom count's wrong in some fashion, which, I don't know, do you know anything about it?
2-bedroom house
Yeah, I know the house.
with a lot of children.
Yeah, I see them, they're scurrying around there all the time when I drive by there. Anyway, they're on the cusp of the infamous triangle. It's a voluntary endeavor, and there's no construction planned, although they probably need another bedroom. But
They need 2.
but the nitrogen reduction is significant. So I think it would be a big impact, given the way things are. And the existing pool is failing. The house was built in 1935, and that's all I know about the pool.
This other house, it's 1930 construction, so.
Right. So, it's lurking below ground, no one knows. So it's a block pool, and they figured it's already failing as per the health department. So I would ask for a motion to approve this.
And the exact number that's.
The exact number would be 12,000 base, no PSD, and a well set aside, though they say that they don't need a new well or they don't have to move it. But we're setting it aside, so it's 16,000 total.
Sounds like a plan.
Second,
Second.
In favor.
you want to third it? All in favor?
Aye.
All right, and, do I have the next one?
You.
Yes, Mesnick, yeah, no,
Definitely don't need a well. On Craig, they definitely don't need a well.
Okay.
Their current well was approved, so.
you're thinking, should we do it anyway?
Just leave it. Just,
Are they on the West Neck water system?
No,
Was that one written with the well relocation, set aside?
yes.
So.
that's the way I interpreted it, because I didn't know that.
So we
definitive-
should, you know, if, we can, you never know when you're gonna get surprised and then we're gonna wind up.
They just put.
Yes,
Matching
amended,
up,
yeah,
so-
so let's, we can always not pay it.
How,
Right, Mesnikov.
Mesnick, that's me. This is a property that is directly on Crab Creek. It is, they have reported it as a conventional system, but the blueprint, the design is completed, the engineers completed the design, and they're calling it just a cesspit, a block, you know, there's no.
Whatever's there.
There's no leaching system in it right now. It is leaching, it's 40, the current unit is 45 feet to the shoreline of Crab Creek. So this would be just about the quickest outflow of contaminated water possible. I looked on the GIS property card, has them as the owners. They used Homeport Engineering as the architect, and they're put in a Sen 5, Fuji Sen 5. And all the other requirements, it's 10.9 kilograms per year. The 5-year cost ratio, it's about $221 per kilogram over the, you know, that's five times, it's just not a bad number. They're gonna be treating the number, it's 1 year return, it's 19 cents per gallon, and it's 4 cents per gallon to do this treatment, and over the 5 years, so it's not a particularly expensive project, and one that is in a very sensitive area. Base grant, 12,000. I have put on here, well relocation not required, because that's what it says on the blueprint, but I wonder whether or not we want to set that up.
They're getting kicked back and forth between the DEC and the health department, because the DEC is, I want you further from the wetlands, and the health department saying, no, you can't move them closer to anybody's
This
wells.
is very
They have
similar
stay
to
where
the
they
next
are.
person we're gonna talk about.
So they're going back and forth with the DEC.
All right, so what I would like to do then is have this hard copy. I'd like to, we should put the 4,000 for the well relocation in here, because right now there's a tennis match going on and we don't know who's gonna win. So is required. And that would make this 16,000 and 16,000. 12 and 44,000. I guess what I should do is, Jessica, we'll change this around, and so I'll sign this, but I don't think I need to sign it when you make the changes. Oh, if of course it passes.
Yeah, that's the one thing we have to still do.
Okay, so
Like to make a motion.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve this for the 12,000 base grant and 4,000 for the well replacement set aside. Total fund requested is 16,000, of which we expect to only spend 12,000 of it. And that's my motion.
Any,
Third.
any further discussion?
Wait up a second, no?
No further discussion, then
No.
all in favor?
I,
Okay, so we have, it's actually old business, but, Karasek, at 1 Peconic Avenue. You know, she too borders right hard on Crab Creek. And this was approved in 2021. And the request for payment was in 2021, I think, too. So she was approved for a base grant of $6,000 and he received an income incentive of $2,000. She got the county and state grants. The county was $15,000 and the state grant was $10,000. I think she had an income incentive with the county too then. But she had lots of issues with her installation, you know, in the well, going back and forth in the DEC and the whole schmear, just like what you were talking about. So it costs a fair amount more engineering wise, as well as, you know, just doing the well thing.
Why is she only in for 6,000?
Because that's the way the grant was then.
But we've amended that.
yes.
We amended it to 12,000. Now, when we did that, we discussed about going back to certain people, you know, who received just a $6,000 grant and making up the difference between the 6 and the 12. You know, we've talked about it, we've done it a couple times. Without making this more complicated, that's what I would suggest, is giving her an additional 6,000. Betty was saying, well, shouldn't we give her something for moving the well too? You know, I think, you know, the way things are now, we would have, even then, I think we would pay up to $2,000 for a well relocation.
If this is a person who's getting a income,
Incentive. I mean, she obviously has been vetted as needing assistance.
why wouldn't we add the well in as well?
We could, I just don't want to get, you know, she's not expecting that much, you know, so I don't want to all of a sudden, you know, hey, you should see what I got.
Are we certain that,
She could be listening to us right now.
Good.
are we certain that the well was mandated by the county to say you have to move your well?
Yeah, that's stated that way. Did you guys do she's not here anymore. Did you see the minutes, you know, you have the minutes there.
In the last minutes?
You had 2,000 for the well before, in the minute?
She didn't, no, there was nothing
No.
about anything
Okay.
for the well. Maybe she didn't even know about it. The first well was drilled 30 feet from the house and came up with salt water. So it had to be redone going 230 feet to get to fresh water, going back 230 feet. Well, I don't know why she didn't do that in the first place. Go as far as she could from the water, because that's a pretty deep piece of property. This caused a new survey to need to be resubmitted to the health department. That brought the cost up considerably. The homeowner wrote asking for additional compensation in the rebate. Although the relocation of the well does count in the calculations, it doesn't have any add-on for that. This is Julia talking. This is a situation that the WQI have not encountered before, that the set-aside established in the initial application is inadequate. I'm not 100% sure if there is, if she got $6,000 and then she had an income incentive and got $8,000, then I don't see where the well incentive is, or set aside.
Well, I don't think they did it.
There didn't used to be well, there wasn't well money and there wasn't, well, no, there was always brush hard shell. There was, well money went into the equation and your income incentives got taken away.
Say that again, Amber?
When we change things, you mean?
When you change things, you added a well money, but then you got rid of the incentive,
How much is the incentive?
$2,000.
So.
I mean, it's a sliding scale. It's vetted by the town attorney, I think.
Give her two more.
Split the difference.
All right, so you want to go 8,000 then? Like,
I was ready to give her the floor, so that's fine with
I'm
me.
not on the committee, but I think.
well, I think, I could be okay with, the 6 plus 2,
Okay.
I think that's fair.
okay? Yeah.
I motion to give 6,000 for the increase in base grant and 2,000 for the well, installation of the well.
And the only reason it's 2,000 for the installation of the well is because you got a 2,000 income incentive, which you no longer get if you get the 4,000, and you get a 4,000. So we're giving her 4,000 by balancing it with the already given income incentive.
Correct. That's good point.
Brilliant.
Well, again, if we want to create a record, why didn't she get 4,000? You have to know that.
So
Just like we're counting on Jane's minutes from that meeting to come to this conclusion.
right. Anyway, was that a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye,
Aye.
8,000.
Very good. Um, there was a meeting that Kate Rossi Snook from Cornell Cooperative Extension held, and I completely spaced on it. My cohort at the WMAC was there. Bill, and I think, were you there or not? At this Kate Rossi Snook meeting?
No.
No, okay. I think it was Bo Payne and Bill Garrity and Kate, I think it was. Anyway, I recall that at some point, maybe a couple of years ago, that when Jerry was trying to get the cost centers to balance out and this and that and not put it in the budget, he came to us for money for the shellfish seeding program.
Yes.
And I recall it happening that one time, but I didn't know if it was just happening just regularly from that, or.
I did it 2 years. We did $10,000 in 2022 and $12,000 in 2023.
But there was something about them not getting the $12,000 or something initially in 23?
No, because when we approved the other grant, we actually increased, wasn't part of the $200,000 grant.
Nothing, had nothing to do, this is different than that.
But in an
The oyster reef,
additional oyster.
the oyster reef thing was separate.
No, yes, it was separate. But when we approved the oyster reef, I believe either they requested it, and I think we gave money for additional seeding beyond let's just say we put in 10,000 seeds. They said, well, we really need to put in 20. So we gave it in part. I could be
Ultimately,
wrong.
they did get paid that money in 2023.
I believe so.
But there was like a disconnect, and they didn't get anything for 2024. is according to them. The upshot of this whole thing is that she is taking over, you know, from Greg, his last name escapes me.
Rivera.
He's retiring, she's taking on his duties. So going forward, it sounds like the discussion between Bo, Bill, and Kate was that money from the WMAC would go to pay for this shellfish seeding program. Other needs, you know, such as the oyster reef program, you know, things like that, would probably come to us. There's no such request at this point. I think we're still paying out on the other one. So there's nothing been broached about that.
Right.
But I think the thing is that they need to get covered for the shellfish seeding, which I think is coming out of the WMAC. So, but we're gonna get some requests.
I'm sure we are.
But she's now gonna be, you know, taking care of it, you know, all the stuff on her own.
Who is Greg Rivera?
He works at SPAT, Cornell.
But he was like the head of it, and Kate kind of worked for him, right?
It's pretty amazing what she's done. She kind of created this from scratch.
Right.
It's phenomenal.
So, you know, I was very apologetic if I blew the meeting. But I think we should expect something coming, you know, down the pike to apply perhaps new criteria to, should the governor ever sign it. Anyway, not that we will change our criteria. The reporter forum that Greg was on the panel.
Yes, I was the water panelist. Then there was the Liz Handley was the affordable housing. And then Nancy Green was talking about medical issues. So I had two questions, and it was very nice. They provided the questions. It wasn't, you know, I don't want to have any complaints about my Republican.
Mr. Vance, what do you think about?
So the first question was about a recent report that had been presented to the town board that said IA Systems had shown promise, but they had only been suggested the limited installation, and it sounded like from the fellow that had read the article and presented it to the town board, it sounded like that, hey, IA Systems, we really don't know. But on investigation, what it turned out to be is the Barnstable study that's being done, and there are two systems being evaluated there. They've got 14 sites. The system consists of a traditional IA followed by a polishing of wood chips. And the report was very positive on, I dug down and got the interim report that the EPA and the Massachusetts Wastewater Association, that's not the, and there's a lot of people that were involved in Massachusetts.
So the polisher is they're saying does work?
It does. It's like one of those things of where it doesn't look like, it's that unit is integral. It's like a big channel with a wall, the sludge side and the paper side. As a matter of fact, it's the sludge side. The way they show this system working is with leaving the sludge tank in the conventional system and then just pulling the fluid off of that. So the system was.
Is it? I get we're getting a little off thing here, but I mean I'm interested in this. So is it not an IA, like an IA system that we know flowing into this other thing?
It looks like all they tested was two types of units. And whether it was 7 and 7, I'm not sure, in terms of, they had 14 houses. It is not something that, it's not the Fuji.
Not what we're
It's not a
doing.
Fuji Sen 5, it's not a hydro. It may be a Star, Septitech Star, which is a new approved, general use approval now. I don't know if, I didn't know it until I was working this thing out back almost 9 months ago. Septitech Star.
Tech is a company up in Maine.
At any rate, there was this concern that the system's not really working, and in investigating what the report was reporting was this new system. It's not the traditional.
Not the thing that we're talking about.
So just, that's really,
The reason why I got interested in it, because Petter was talking about using the traditional thing that we're, the Fuji Clean, and then going into like this wood chip thing, you know, and that it's supposed to polish and scrub and get rid of pharmaceuticals and this and that and the other thing, almost like a pressurized shower drain field. So that's why I was sort of listening for a change.
yeah, because it's it hasn't been, the study, it was a preliminary report, it hasn't been peer reviewed. When I looked at it, I didn't see anywhere where they were like working on PFOs or anything like that. There may be, because it's like a 40-page report. I would have thought that you haven't, this doesn't seem familiar? All right, I'll send it out to you guys so you can see what it looks like, and I apologize. So that was the first question, and the second question was about Islander skepticism on involvement with the Suffolk County Water Authority. And I explained, because there was about 100 people there, and I don't know how long many of them have been around. And I said, years ago, the concern is that Suffolk County wanted to get a foothold on Shelter Island so they could take the water and
Suck our water out.
Suck our water out. And since then, there seems to be no concern or no conversation at all that moving water either direction, South Fork or North Fork, to us or out, it's just incredibly expensive, and that they're not gonna.
The main reason, as I understood it back then, and even now, is the loss of or inroads into control over development,
Yes,
is really the main argument against them.
yes, that's skepticism. I identified loss of home rule, which I think was, that's right, I said that. The water district implications, which I'm on the WAC, and I don't understand I've heard all the good things about a water district. I haven't heard any of the uh-ohs, where maybe it's not so good, especially given.
Well, it's good if people don't have any water and all of a sudden they get water. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. That's true, I guess. That's certainly true. And, Suffolk County Water Authority, by one of they have something like 600 or 700 individual wells and 237 well fields. So they're pumping water all over the place in order to bring, if a series of wells is high in nitrates, they just bring other water in and neutralize it out. I think that probably that might be a little difficult here, so.
Yeah, I think on a smaller scale, they would think to try and do that.
Yeah. So basically, the question was, should Suffolk County Water Authority be invited to manage the public water supply? The bottom line, to my way of thinking, is that it'd be really important if water districts are part of Suffolk County, bringing more Suffolk County around, figuring out what this whole water district, the yins and the yangs, the good and the bad, it would be important. That would be, before you sign it, in my opinion, what I reported there was that it would be better to make sure that we have that topic covered and we know the implications of what we're doing. So Amber was there as well. Did I, I got to sing a bar or two of Mothers of Men, which was very nice. You know, that's.
You almost got the hook.
In the course of my investigation on that topic, it turns out that there is now another general use approval in the IA systems, Septitech Star, STAAR, and I don't know where they are, other than it's the Septitech company, and since last November, they have been approved at that category, and that's all I know.
All I know about them is we had one of them up in this island up in Maine, and the thing took up a whole building, you know?
It's really,
Which subsequently burned down. So it was replaced with a Fuji
yeah.
Zen 7.
So that's all I remember.
Well, that's pretty good, you know? You might remember you went anyway. No, I think it was just good. I mean, they had asked me to be there, but my daughter was having her 40th birthday celebration that evening.
That's only Bill Mastro threw tomatoes at me, and that was after the program, and he didn't throw them real hard, so it was okay.
Okay, financial report, there's.
I gave you the little spreadsheet, so.
Yeah.
Unpaid IA systems before this evening, before we get to the town board approval, 28. Number of grants paid out, 64. Spent $643,845 just on the residential IA systems. And then for the total funds, there's just shy of 3.4 million in the bank accounts. The funds encumbered, you can increase that by $4,000 because I didn't have that. Was it? We just talked about. Waldbauer, yeah. So $4,000 more funds is encumbered and available for projects, subtract 4,000 from that, 2.9 million is available for future projects.
So we get 5 more approvals and in progress, we'll have 92.
Yes.
So we'll hit the 100, we probably should, can you bring champagne to pop a bottle at the next meeting if we're at 100?
You know, it's like in the locker room, yeah.
I know. No, I've always thought
Well,
that.
that's approved by us, but I believe that the number installed because of people building new houses.
Oh, yeah, it's great, and much more. It says like in a couple, 300 or something like that.
So we're something along the order, I would imagine then, about 10% of the island are IA systems now.
I'd say close. Just going to old business,
Well, the other thing is I gave you a copy of the tentative budget.
right,
So you can see, you got payroll taxes, clerk expenses. I just put in $125,000 in other grants I might issue, audit, 6,000, office and miscellaneous, $500. Septic system rebates paid out, hopefully $150,000 can go out the door this year, and then the PEP dues, $14,450. So this is just something to look at, but we can, because you are your own fund,
right.
if if someone comes with a project, someone Cornell Cooperative, 200,000, like, we can all this. Since it's coming out of the fund and not coming from taxpayers. And I anticipated, based upon how the money's coming in this year, that 430,000 tentatively be next year's profits.
Okay. There's a huge sales boom in the next couple of months.
It's a big check from Suffolk County.
Good.
Spreadsheet.
A WQI for August month came in September. $81,000 came in.
Good. So we got some
270,000 so far this year.
projects going on. To that end, old business, because of Stephen coming to us this evening, I held off on the homeowners association presidents. I'm gonna try to do it next month. Any other old or new business?
The only thing that we may, we have been wanting to get the word out better. I know Meg was going to do something that was the library thing. I wonder if we ought to think about seeing if we could get all three of the potential suppliers, as it were, which I think that was probably part of the concern on the library decision, was that it was Fuji. That perhaps we could do something and have all three suppliers come up and do a 20-minute spiel on this is what our unit does and blah, 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 and see whether or not that would kindle some interest. See if we can get
They would do that here at a meeting?
No.
the meeting, no, the WAC is very active in setting up the library tent program and all that, and they were doing something at the Mashamak was the plan, and for reasons unknown, that had to be canceled. I don't know what the reason was, but it may be that it might have, we don't want to be in a position of having people think, and we recommend the Fuji system. That would be.
We recommend Fuji. No. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah,
We recommend any system that takes out nitrogen.
She's done those presentations before she got on the board, and she always mentioned that the Fuji wasn't the only system out there.
Right. But I mean, so this is something that the WAC is arranging?
well, I am unsure. I think it was done with the leadership of the WAC, because they have been doing a lot of the library.
I have to talk to Peter about something else. I'll ask him about it.
Yes, ask them, because
I think it would be good then if we did get the homeowners presidents here, like on Zoom or whatever, and then just follow it up with, and then there's this presentation scheduled, that you may want your constituents to look at.
Yeah.
It would be good, and then we just need to, think of the incentives that we can give to them to help them decide to push their membership.
Yeah, I just want to, I'll throw that out. We can think about it. There's, the effort that Julie was doing with the videos, could build on that, I suppose.
Julie was under the weather today, but I'm sure she's working on those videos. I'm sure that a lot more. In the audience, Ed, do you have anything that you want to add?
Ed?
Muted.
Or is it dinner? Then I would ask for a motion.
So moved.
Second.
All
All
in
right,
favor?
thank you all.